Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Progress Your Service Desk Career with SDI Training. I'm Emily and I will be your host for this webinar. I'm joined by SDI's Head of Service Desk Certification and Training, Carla Thornley. Hi Carla. Hi Emily. Thank you for joining us today. Very welcome. So today we're here to find out a little more about the SDI qualifications and how it underpins best practice and helps to establish a culture of service excellence. So Carla, would you be able to tell us a little about your previous role on a service desk and your current role here at Service Desk Institute?
Thanks, Emily. Well, yes, I have spent my whole career really working within various service and support roles, and the common factor throughout my career has always been the desire to support people, really, so people are the common factor for me. I've been associated with the SDI for many years now, having first come across the standards when I took on responsibility for a help desk service within higher education, and that really was many years ago. In fact, I think it was still called the Help Desk Institute, not the Service Desk Institute, so very much going back a long way now. And ever since, really, I've been an advocate of SDI standards, and I do firmly believe in raising service standards through adopting industry best practice, certification and benchmarking, and that has followed me throughout my career, really. I became an associate trainer delivering both Service Desk Analyst and Service Desk Manager training way back in December 2012. And I've trained both my own teams and a wider group of both Service Desk Managers and Service Desk Analysts ever since. Then in March 2015, I was very happy to join the SDI as a Service Management Consultant and Auditor, but I did still continue to deliver both public and in-house training. So this year, I'm currently responsible for both training and our Service Desk certification program here at the SDI. So I'm delighted now to have the responsibility for both those areas of business. Okay, so first of all today I thought it might be worth thinking about why you may wish to train your service desk staff. Indeed, why should organisations train their service desk? It's a perennial question, and it's maybe something that you're thinking about yourselves. Is it worth spending money on training your staff? So up on the screen you can see here a statement that quite often does the rounds. I've certainly seen it recently several times on LinkedIn. So what happens if we train them and they leave? But the answer to that, of course, is what happens if we don't train them and then they stay? It's often tempting to think, I won't spend any money on training, and during difficult times the training budget maybe feels like an easy thing to live without. But quite often this really, really is a false economy for organisations. Because what happens if we don't train people? Well, quite frankly, they don't progress and we get a stagnating service. So there are many reasons for me for investing in training for your staff, and I'm just going to list a few here now for people to think about. So one reason to train is to motivate. So it certainly is a motivating factor to feel that you're being invested in and your skills are being, you're allowed to develop your skills. So you really do motivate people by allowing them to access training courses. You allow them to be more empowered. So by training them up and increasing their skills, you are creating a workforce that is more empowered. You are inspiring people. So again, if you aspirationally train up to the next level, then they can be inspired to see where their career may take them. And you get that back in terms of motivation, the amount of effort put in, but also the skill set that they have and how they can influence service improvement. Sometimes training allows you to uncover hidden talents that you didn't know people had, and certainly our training course is very broad, and we do see some very creative people coming through service desks. So really, this is an opportunity for you to uncover some hidden talents within your team. Training obviously allows us to ensure consistency. So unless we tell people what to do and when to do it, we can't really be sure that they are delivering consistent service. And that really, really is a very important factor when it comes to deciding to train your staff. We promote good practice. So all of this is all about we're all doing the same kind of thing and we understand what good looks like and we're making sure that people are actually delivering to that. We can provide clarity to people by making sure that the training that we give them allows them to understand the full realm of their roles and what they should be doing, and also it does provide direction, so we can actually steer the direction of people's skills and the performance by allowing them to access training courses. So there's an awful lot of reasons really for investing in training for your staff, and I really would urge anybody who hasn't ever thought that training was important to maybe think again on those bases. And I do think, for us working within service desks and within IT, we are now in such a service-focused culture that for me, SDI training really is and becomes a tangible investment in what is your greatest asset, that is your people. So it's an investment for which you do reap all the rewards I've just listed there. So really do think about making sure that you do consider training as a viable option.
So Carla, let's start off with why people may want to study with SDI.
Yeah, so SDI courses are delivered by a hugely experienced team of tutors who do combine service desk knowledge and experience with the very latest learning techniques. So we really are the choice for so many of the most successful service desks. And really, you see here the pictures of the people that do our training course at the moment. So some of our trainings are shown to you here. And I'm just going to start from the left and just tell you a little bit more about them. So on the left we have Lynne Nash. Lynne is a customer service and service desk professional with a wide range of experience gained within IT and a lot of associated industries. So she's been involved with help desks and service desks right back since the mid-1980s. She has operational management, project management and training experience from some significant blue chip companies such as Fujitsu and the BBC World Service. As well as delivering training for the SDI, she's also a highly experienced consultant, and also at the moment she is delivering our service desk certification audits as well. Next to Lynne, we have Donna Shoesmith, an accomplished training and business consultant as well, who has a passion for developing both people and businesses. Now Donna is also an accredited training provider for the Institute of Leadership and Management, an awarding body for management qualifications. Next up is Ken Goff. Ken is an industry recognised name with a proven track record of excellence. He's got a 30-year career behind him, and as well as that, he's also been the director of ITSMF UK. So a huge wealth of experience there with Ken. And then finally we've got Susan Story. Susan's both an ITIL expert and a Prince 2 qualified service and support professional. And she really does have a passion for identifying areas of inefficiency and using the SDI standards to offer advice and help on delivering customer-centric service support. So all of those people are coming to you with a wealth of experience and a great background.
So, having met the trainers, you spoke a little about the SDI professional standards. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about these?
Yes, absolutely. So our training courses are delivered by training organisations worldwide, and this is done through a network of APMG accredited authorised training providers. And the standards, a committee of industry experts, service management professional practitioners, need to review our standards every 3 years. So they really are, that is the primary purpose of that standard review is to ensure that the standards align with the needs and demands of the industry. So when you access the Service Desk Institute training courses, you are accessing something that is absolutely bang up to date with what the industry requires. Our professional standards add value to your career. So the SDI's unique set of courses will make a real difference to your career and your CV. And this really does apply whether you are an analyst, a team leader, a manager, or have responsibility for an entire IT service department. So I do believe that the SDI is in a unique position as the creators of the professional standards that all of those qualification courses and workshops are built upon.
So hearing about professional standards, what options are available to people who choose SDI as their training provider?
Yeah, so if you come to us as choose us as your training provider, you've got two options really. If you choose to work with the SDI, you can choose from our schedule of public training courses, or if you'd rather, then you can choose to talk to us about the delivery of in-house training. This is a popular choice, particularly for international organisations.
Could you tell us a little bit about the benefits and differences between those two options?
Yes, absolutely. I think it is worth just thinking about the differences between public and in-house training for a little bit. So first of all, if we look at public training, the benefits are, well, obviously we have a schedule and they are run regularly all across the UK. If you access public training, what you can do is you can choose to send people on different courses, which reduces the impact on service delivery. So one person may attend maybe every 2 or 3 months. By spreading the impact on service delivery, you also spread the costs. So you can have fixed costs and you can understand how you can spend your training budget across a fixed period of time. Once you send people on our public training courses, I think a really, really valuable part of their attendance is their ability to then build a professional network with others working in similar roles. So that really, really is a value add for our public training. It meets all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds. And as well as learning from the experience of the trainer, that does mean that you can learn from experiences, real life experiences from those working within other organisations. So they really are tangible benefits to public training and well worth thinking about. The disadvantages though may be that it could take some time for all staff obviously to achieve the qualifications and undertake that training. So if you've got a large service desk, it is going to take some time to get everybody up to that standard. And therefore it will take time for service delivery to reach a consistent standard as well. So in other words, it's harder to embed that best practice when you are training only one or two people at once. Another disadvantage could be that actually your team, they go away, they understand what best practice is in theory, but you don't have that opportunity for them to get together as a group to discuss their shared experience, and also for them to make sure that that is implemented rapidly within your organisation. So, for example, I recently delivered a public service desk manager course, so we're thinking about public training, where we had a highly experienced service desk manager who'd been in post for many, many years and had actually seen the support, and supported, been actively supporting the growth of that organisation and the growth of his own service desk function. So it had gone from a team of one to quite, a large team supporting a diverse user group. But during introductions, it came to light that he'd never attended any training course at all during the whole of his time working within IT. So his reasons for attending a public course very much were that he wanted to check that he was focusing on the right things, given that he was so busy in a day-to-day kind of operational way, and that there was so much for him to actually do. And he also wanted to make sure that he was doing the right things to support the future growth of the organisation. So in particular, I think he was particularly keen to know that he was supporting his ever-growing team in the right way, and to be sure that they were doing the right things that in turn delivered the best possible service for their customers. So by the end of the course, I think this was a course where, happily, I always find this, the attendees did bond very well, and there was a lot of open discussion about what was happening within the different organisations and what their pain points were. So given the nature of our training and how we actually deliver it, you do tend to spend quite a lot of time sharing experiences and working together on the challenges that your training will set you. And by the end of the course, this particular service desk manager could see how much he still had to do, and it wasn't a case of, I've done everything that I could do to be good at what I'm supposed to do. It was very much, right now I can see the roadmap, the roadmap before me. So there was much to do when he got back to the day job, but his feedback for us as training providers very much was that the training itself and that opportunity that it had given him to spend time working with others in similar roles had changed his viewpoint in many, many ways. So that was really great feedback. And what he had gained was a different perspective in terms of the strategic importance of his role. So there was reassurance that although he was unique within his organisation, he was part of the profession and therefore not isolated or working alone, but also validation that he was indeed doing some really good stuff that other people could also pick up on and implement in their own setting. So the key takeaway, this service desk manager in particular acknowledged that he needed to take things to the next level, and absolutely wasn't just so much about doing more. In some cases it was about delegating more and maybe stopping doing some of the activities that he had been spending time on, as much as continuing to pick things up. So SDM for him was very much an eye-opener in terms of the stuff that he should continue to do and being part of the profession, which is really, really valuable. So yeah, public training can be very, very worthwhile and worth thinking about if you feel in any way isolated or that you're not quite sure how you get on in your own organisation. Okay, so the other choice that you may have is you may choose to go for in-house training, and it's probably worth just thinking about some of the benefits of doing that. So the biggest benefit, maybe the primary benefit, is that we can deliver in-house training at a time to suit your organisation. So we can come in when you want us to, and that can fit around your service needs. Also, it might be possible to adjust the focus of public courses to meet any specific needs of the organisation. So in other words, if you've got a particular challenge around team building, then we can maybe skew the focus of the course to make sure that we're building a more team building kind of activities for you. What you are fundamentally creating when you do in-house training is a shared experience for your team, and I can't emphasise how important that often is. Service desk roles can be quite isolated, so people sit down and get on with the job in hand, and the shared experience is very much what people need to operate effectively as a team. And also an in-house training course where you allow people to work together can provide an open forum in which teams can discuss and address current operational issues and often actually come up with an action plan for how they want to do things better. So often the team themselves can unlock the answer to an operational issue. Obviously, the flip side of that is if you wish to train the whole team, then there is clearly a significant impact on service. You have to be able to maintain your service or provide the training at a time when the service is not running, so you need to think about that. And also the other disadvantage when you compare in-house to public is that people lose that external perspective. So although you get the perspective of the trainer, you won't get the external perspective of the other people in similar roles, and you don't get that opportunity to learn from how others might be doing things differently, either due to a different experience or a slightly different operational organisational approach. So again, for the benefits, there are also some other considerations to think about. But thinking about the kind of in-house training that I've done, last year, for example, I trained an entire service desk team who had a very brave service desk manager who decided that she would attend the training alongside her team of analysts. Many service desk managers may not be comfortable with this approach, but actually I think for her what she wanted to do was create that sense of trust within the team, and that worked very well for her. Conversely, in another organisation, I delivered the training to an entire team where the service desk manager used that opportunity in the time that the staff wouldn't be there to actually spend some time working on the service desk herself. So she arranged for other cover but made sure that she was actually doing operational support herself for the first time. Not only did she improve staff morale by investing in the training in that way and releasing them to spend more time together, I think she actually, she made a point of engaging with both the trainer, so myself, and the attendees on the final day in a really powerful way to let them know just how much she herself had learned by being on the service herself. And she started with an apology. I'm so sorry that I don't always listen to you. I now see things from a different perspective because I've just experienced what you experience day in, day out. I need to learn to listen to you more. So certainly that did challenge some of her misconceptions about the challenges that her own staff had been facing. And she really did demonstrate the value that she then placed on her team and empowering and inspire her staff to deliver and improve services for their customers. So it's a very powerful way of actually you making a big difference to your staff if you actually do engage with in-house training with your service desk institute. But really, fundamentally, once you've decided on a route for yourself and what suits your organisation, then the courses do operate in the same way whether public or in-house. Okay, and that commonality then, we always focus on small group sizes and we will always build in time to share experience. So this isn't just theory, it's very much my practical-based activities as well. The facilities for both public training and in-house need to be classroom-based with breakout areas for group work. So when we come in-house, we very much do rely on you as the customer to provide that good quality accommodation, but we work with you to make sure that we have all we need, and obviously we are flexible in that. We can't manufacture high-quality training facilities if we don't offer, so we will work with what we've got really. Virtual courses are slightly different. We can deliver them either over consecutive days or across a single day over several weeks, and again that's something we talked about when we are actually scheduling virtual courses. And for those courses with a qualification, the exam is included in the delivery. The virtual courses, exams are taken online via APMG, and that becomes a time and location to suit you, so that's slightly different in terms of the exam.
So what options does a person have to progress their career?
Yeah, well I really do believe there's a training course here suitable for you at any stage of your career. And aspirationally, you can see the list of training courses there, so that's a typical route, but aspirationally you may wish to access our training to prepare or facilitate your next career move. And I think that's particularly relevant with our senior analyst to team leader course. So I do know of actually several organisations now where they are actively seeking to prepare staff to take on a managerial role by sending those with that potential, so the potential to be a team leader, onto that course. So if nothing else, that really does allow people to see whether a managerial career path is a good fit for them as individuals. And really, if you do access training in that way, in theory it can prevent a very costly mistake if someone subsequently discovers that management isn't suited to them and they're not really suited to it. So just looking at those then, I would say that the Service Desk Foundation course is for staff who really have little or no experience of working within the service desk environment. And most commonly we would see apprenticeships as being the key demographic for that particular course. It does really though set the foundation for best practice when it comes to customer service and communication skills. So by accessing that course for your staff, you can be assured that you're laying down very clear guiding principles and setting high expectations around what good service looks like, giving inexperienced staff the very best and most supportive and most importantly consistent start that they can have. So, but very often actually we find that our service desk staff come to us with some experience, and this is where you can really make good use of the professional service desk analyst qualification, which is the next level up, to ensure that you're developing staff who are able to deliver a high quality, consistent service that's absolutely in line with best practice and in keeping with the wider IT service management ITIL principles. So that really is it's an in-depth qualification, that one, and well worth the investment. The senior courses, I've just said, that lays the foundation for staff who are about to take up a team leader role and introduces a range of management activities that maybe they've never thought about before or they don't really understand very clearly. And the service desk manager course, so that's our highest level of qualification, is highly applicable and relevant to more senior members of staff. Now, service desk manager is an intensive 4-day course. I think anybody who's attended it would say it is intensive. It's very much focusing on high quality conversations and discussions and making people think strategically, often for the first time. So it's very much about shaping strategic goals and that, anything that does come from being responsible for the whole service. So I think the service desk manager is relevant for service delivery managers, customer service managers, and really anyone with a responsibility for driving continued service improvement or a strategic goal. Now, across all of our courses, there are common themes and terminology, and I think it's probably worth saying they're all complementary to the ITIL framework. And we do often find, actually, that service desk analysts will return to complete the service desk manager course later in their career. And also that, interestingly, once service desk manager qualified, we do see that managers will tend to send their new recruits onto the service desk analyst course wherever possible, even when they change organisations. So it becomes a thing that follows you. And I think as such, implementing best practice through training really, really, truly does become that iterative, ongoing process. So yeah, service desk managers will move and maybe take the training with them and take the good practice with them. And it's probably worth saying that when I was in industry and I was working in operations support, for me, that service desk analyst course was an absolute prerequisite for all of my service desk staff. I would choose that over the ITIL Foundation course, although I wanted my staff to understand both. And that, that didn't change no matter what the context and the setting was. Wherever I worked, I thought that was relevant and important. Okay, so that's just an overview of the path. It's probably worth looking in more detail now at what we do offer for each course. So, Service Desk Foundation then. So it's a 2-day course and there is no exam, so there's no qualification attached to Service Desk Foundation. Service Desk Analyst is our most popular in-house training course and is often delivered outside the UK. It takes 3 days, including the exam, and your staff gain a professional qualification. Senior Analyst Team Leader, as we've already said, aspirational team leaders possibly, but that's a 2-day course with no exam. And Service Desk Manager, that takes 4 full days, including the exam, and you will gain a professional qualification with that one as well.
Could we hear more about the contents of these courses and how it feels to be an attendee?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into complete detail, but let's have a little look at certainly some of those courses. And the first one then is Service Desk Analyst. So as we've already heard, it's 3 days and it leads to a professional qualification. And you can see here the entire contents of the course. It's worth emphasising that although the SDI very much recognise the value of passing that exam and making sure that your service desk staff are qualified, there's far more to attending this course than the attainment of the qualification. So really what we do is we make use of the SDA training to articulate the true value of the service desk within any organisation, emphasising to your staff how absolutely essential they are to the success of the whole of IT. The course also answers many of the questions those working within the service desk team may have as to why management do what they do. So why do we insist that our staff work to process? Why do they have to write things down? Why do managers get obsessed with metrics? Why do we focus on quality? And what is all this endless activity really telling service managers? And what do they then do with it? So what difference does it make? Certainly my goal as a trainer is to instill a sense of pride in our service desk analysts, and that starts with acknowledging that this really is a tough role. Often they're faced with conflicting demands and a requirement that they need to know everything about everything. So that's people, process and technology. But really, at the end of this course, what they should absolutely feel is that they are in a professional role and that service desk analyst is a springboard to a highly successful career in IT. So hopefully what you will see with those who have attended our training is a change in their thinking about the real value placed upon the role and all those activities that the SDA undertakes every day, so that there's better awareness of how processes link together and how everything results in good service delivery. So, for example, you should expect someone qualified in SDA to understand that without the details gathered within the incident management process, IT can't really make sound business-focused decisions. You should expect them to understand that without solid incident management, problem management is ineffective. which in turn may lead to poor knowledge management and inefficiencies within the change or release management processes. And without good relationship management, and all SDAs are focused entirely on building relationships with your customers day in, day out, without that, IT can't really respond in a strategic way to all the needs of all the stakeholders. So SDI trainers really will make a compelling argument over the course of those three days for the true value of this vital role. And once an SDA has completed the course, they will return to your organisation with a new sense of pride and the ambition to focus on true customer advocacy, driving forward service improvement. There is an overlap between ICA Foundation and the SDA, but SDA, it's worth saying, very much emphasises the part that the service desk must play within those key ICA processes. So it's less theoretical and it's more practical. So what practically do they do and how do they make sure they're doing it well? Okay, so that's service desk analyst. We've already spoken briefly about senior analyst to team leader. This course really is designed to develop that experienced service desk analyst in accordance with industry best practice, preparing them to play a more strategic role within the service desk in order to progress to team leader or to service desk manager. So again, we can see a description of the topics that are covered on the screen there, and I'm not going to go through all of those one by one. But it's worth saying that we quite often see service desk analysts promoted to a team leader role because they're good service desk analysts. So in other words, we promote people away from their core skill set, away from the thing that they're good at, without any real consideration as to whether or not they have the right aptitude and skills to do a managerial role. I think it's very important that we allow people to understand the difference between operational support and being responsible for other people delivering operational support. And certainly by accessing this course, people really can start to see whether or not the managerial career path is right for them. Okay, so that's senior analyst. Service desk manager then. Here's the full contents of that 4-day course. I will say I absolutely love delivering this course. It's always inspirational. Over 4 days we touch on so many topics, and I always do find that I pick up something new from listening to those experiences within the room and the varied experience of the delegates who are attending the course. So in a typical group, I would say, and I think most trainers would agree, that the attendees learn as much from each other as they do from the trainer. Maybe not quite as much, but certainly they do learn from each other. It's also often the very first time that many service desk managers have a bit of time and space away from the day-to-day job, and the first opportunity perhaps to think about the more strategic elements of their role. In keeping with all our training courses, this course really is delivered through a mix of hands-on exercises, discussion topics, as well as a theory that leads to the passing of the exam. So it's a very varied course. And I think it's probably most suited to those with at least 3 years experience within a service desk or support environment, ideally existing service desk managers or people with responsibility for running an effective support operation. So, if you come along with some questions, then hopefully by the end of the course you're going away with an action plan and some activities that you're going to implement straight away. So the service desk manager role, I do believe, is amongst the most varied you can find within IT, and our course does cover all elements of this essential role. So perhaps not activities that everybody's engaged with in their current role, but certainly things that we have seen across the broad spectrum of service desk managers. So we will talk about strategy, we talk about leadership, we talk about employee development and relationship building, we talk about service improvement, IT service management processes, performance measurement, quality assurance activities, finance, and also tools and technologies. So a very varied course indeed. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the courses that we do.
So 2 of the courses have qualifications attached to them. So how do the exams work when you study with SDI?
Yeah, so we've already said that the SDA and the SDM, they both lead to professional qualification. So trainees also prepare to take the exam at the end of the final day of the course, where they're delivering, they're attending a face-to-face or an in-house course. And we do build in time for revision and exam practice along the way. So what that means is the days tend to be quite long, but at the end of the day, you also have some revision to do. You may have some exam questions to practice. So it very much is an intensive experience throughout the course, but we do prepare people for the exam. Both the SDA and the SDM exam last for 1 hour, and they are paper-based multiple choice. So in order to pass the qualification, you will need 39 correct answers, so that's 65%, 39 out of 60. And we've also got an additional high mastery level And to achieve this, you need to get 52 correct answers out of 60, so that's a pass rate of 87%.
So let's talk a little bit about being an SDI member. There are many benefits to being an SDI member, and one of those benefits is that you receive a 10% discount on any of our public training courses. Also, in-house, you'll receive £200 discount per day per in-house course. So not only can you receive a discount on the courses, but being an SDI member also enables you to use our resources and research to help answer your questions and also to meet your needs. So why not join, as it says on the screen, a passionate and active community? So Carla, you've given us some insight into our training courses. We've also had some great feedback from our training courses, from members and non-members and in-house and public.
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously are always looking to improve our courses and delivery, and gathering feedback is a huge part of that. So we're always very keen to see what people say and what people think. And as you can see there, we've got a snapshot there. We haven't just picked the very best, I promise. But there is a snapshot on the screen there of what you can see are some very happy customers and a flavour of how people feel. And hopefully that does reinforce some of the things I've been talking about today.
Thank you, Carla, for the insight into SDI training courses, helping us to find out how SDI's qualification courses underpin best practice and helps to establish a culture of service excellence. Has anyone got any questions for Carla? So we've got one here. So locations across the UK. Where does SDI hold their public training courses?
Well, we've got a number of locations across the UK at the moment, and they're all very convenient for international airports, and we do see a lot of international travel, so people attend from all over the world. So we use the Novotel up in Leeds, which their food is absolutely fantastic. I can attest to that as a trainer out there. In Manchester, we use a place called The Place, which is very central, only 5 minutes from the station. In Birmingham, we have a venue in IET Austin Court, a short 20-minute drive from Birmingham Airport. And for those based in the southeast, you can come along to our Orpington office.
We've got another one here. If you've got any questions, please do put them in the question box to your right-hand side, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. So, what's the average waiting time for trainer availability for an in-house training course?
Well, obviously, we would like as much time as possible. If you think you're going to be doing in-house training, we need as much time as possible to ensure that we can get the right fit, make sure that the course is tailored to you. So if you're even thinking about this as an option, I would say just get in touch with us as soon as you can, and we can work from there. But the fact is our trainers are also very busy, so the more time you can give us, the better. So I would say please don't expect us to be able to turn something around within the next week. But if you're thinking about it, do get in touch with us and we'll see what we can do.
We've got another question here. It says, how can we get sample test exams of SDM certification? Can we provide them?
Now, the exams are managed by APMG, so it isn't possible to get examples of the exams themselves. If you go to the APMG website, they do have a sample, a little test sample section where you can get a flavour for exam questions. But no, I'm afraid that the test exams are not available anywhere at all. So you need to attend the course in order to access the exam.
I think we've got one more question here. So, as a services manager myself, should I do SDM or spend the money on SDA?
That's a really interesting question. So if you are thinking, I've only got a certain amount of money, do I spend it on myself or do I spend it on my team? Then I suppose my initial reaction would be, if you want to look at implementing best practice and making sure that you are focusing on service improvement, it might be worth considering investing in yourself first. Services managers are very selfless people. We tend to focus very much on the needs of our staff. Sometimes we need to spend a little bit of time looking after ourselves in order to take the service to the next level.
We've got another question here. So can you just confirm the senior SDA to team leader course length?
Yeah, that's a 2-day course. So it takes 2 days, no exam attached to that one.
I think we might have one or two questions here. We've got last question. Are you able to offer any courses for overseas offices?
We spend a lot of time travelling overseas, so absolutely we've travelled to all parts of the world. Personally, the furthest I have been is the Middle East, but I've also delivered training in mainland Europe, the Baltics, India, you name it, we can come to you. So very definitely do get in touch if you're considering training overseas.
So that's it for the questions for this webinar. If you do have any further questions, please do contact us on the phone number on the screen or via the email address at the bottom, training@sdi-e.com. So thank you for listening to Progress Your Service Desk Career with SDI Training webinar today. And once again, thank you, Carla, for your time.